there and welcome. You're about to watch a Lakehead International live webinar. It is a great way to explore what Lakehead University is all about. In this session, you'll hear insights and stories from Lakehead professors, staff, and current students. While watching, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. For now, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Discover Lakehead session, wherein we'll be talking about our health and behavioral sciences faculty. I'm Hardika Nayankar, part of the Lakehead International team, and I work as the International New and Social Media Officer. It is so great to see many of you joining us today. And over the next little while, we'll be exploring what makes Lakehead University's Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences a leader in shaping the next generation of health professionals, from our diverse undergraduate and graduate programs to the hands-on learning and the placements and research opportunities that prepares you for the real world impact. So let's get started. So the agenda for today is pretty simple. We'll be giving you a Lakehead University overview and also giving you an overview of the entire faculty. And then there will be certain conversations with some of the professors, dean, and also one of the students from this faculty. So let us begin. So let's kick things off with a quick introduction of Lakehead University. So we are a public university in Ontario with 3 distinct locations. Our main campus is in Thunder Bay, which is a lively campus, and also another one in Aurelia. And we have a specialized STEM hub in Barrie. But what sets Lakehead apart isn't just the locations, it's the community that you'll find here. So life at Lakehead is just more than just sitting in lectures and taking notes. It's also about connecting with your professors and building friendships with your classmates and also getting involved with the broader community around you. So one of the things that makes Lakehead really unique is our approach to undergraduate research. At many universities, students don't get any kind of research opportunities until later years in their degrees. So sometimes even at the graduate level. So here you can start as early as your first year. That means you'll get hands-on experience from day one, helping you build the skills and confidence that you require for your future. Now, I know rankings aren't everything, but they give you a sense of our impact. So Lakehead is in the top 3 in Canada for research. In our category, Times Higher Education has ranked us #1 university. In North America for under 10,000 students. And also Maclean's consistently places us in the top 5 in our category in Canada. So even though we are considered a smaller university, our achievements are anything but small. Class sizes are another really good thing that students really appreciate. So instead of huge lecture halls, we focus on smaller and more personal classes. So in Thunder Bay, the student to faculty ratio is 15:1, and in Aurelia, it's 13:1. That means you'll get more opportunities to ask more questions, participate, and also really connect with your professors. Diversity is also another highlight. So students come to Lakehead from over 90 nations. So every classroom is a chance to hear different perspectives, share experiences, and also learn from your peers. Now, what about the life after graduation? So the results speak for themselves. So 96.2% of our graduates are working within 2 years, which is higher than the Ontario average of 94.1%. That tells us our students leave here ready and confident and also well prepared to whatever is going to come next. So that was the snapshot of what life at Lakehead looks like. Moving on, let's talk about why to choose Canada. So let me ask you this. Why do you think so many students from around the world choose Canada for their studies? Well, there are a few big reasons, but for starters, Canada is consistently ranked top 10 greenest countries in the world to live in. On top of that, Canada is also ranked among the top 14 most peaceful countries in the world. That means that it is safe and welcoming, and it is a really supportive place for students from all kinds of backgrounds. Canada is also known for its high quality of life, safety, and also peaceful environment. So we are also known for being inclusive. Actually, Canada was the first country to officially embrace multiculturalism.
And that shows why nearly 1 million international students now call Canada home. Okay, let's talk about something that usually is on top of many international students' minds, which is the work opportunities and what comes after graduation. So while studying, you can work up to 24 hours per week during the semester, and it is a great way to cover any kind of expenses or just gain Canadian experience in general. Uh, but once you graduate, every Lakehead program makes you eligible for a post-graduation work permit, which could give you up to 3 years of open work in Canada. And looking ahead, a Canadian degree gives you extra points for permanent residency, and is also recognized globally. So whether you stay in Canada or just take your career elsewhere, you'll have stronger options. So as we continue to explore the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences, I'd like to also share a few highlights about what it's really like to study at one of our programs. So one of the first things I always like to point out is that the practical learning starts early. So in most of our programs, you'll be gaining hands-on experience right from the first year. That means you're not just learning theory in the classroom, but you're also applying it in the real world settings from the start itself. Another major strength of this faculty is our deep connection with the community. So we partner with health organizations, community agencies, and also corporations that work every day to improve the health and well-being of people in our region and across Canada. So because Lakehead is the only university in both of our hometowns, which is Thunder Bay and Aurelia, we have built strong and long-standing relationships with local partners that truly enhance the student learning. And of course, putting theory into practice doesn't just stop there. You'll have access to labs, internships, and placements that allow you to develop professional skills in authentic environments. So, for example, the photo on your screen right now shows one of our nursing labs where students practice clinical and technical skills in realistic healthcare scenarios. I also want to mention that many of our programs within the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences can serve as pre-med pathways. So if you're considering if you're considering medical school or another professional program after graduation, your degree can be a strong foundation for that next step. Okay, moving on. Now let's take a quick look at the programs that are offered. So at the undergraduate level, we offer kinesiology, nursing, psychology, and social work. At the graduate and doctoral level, we have health sciences, kinesiology, nursing, psychology, public health, social work. So there's a wide range of choices, both for students just starting university and also those continuing to graduate studies. And remember, when you can often take electives across disciplines, which allows you to explore different interests beyond your main program. So let's talk about what learning beyond the classroom really looks like in this faculty. So starting with nursing, students begin their clinical placements as early as their first year. So you'll work in healthcare settings such as long-term care facilities, hospitals, and community clinics. So as you progress, you will move through a variety of specialties from mental health and pediatrics and also complex adult care. So by fourth year, students complete 3 6-week clinical placements, each guided by a professional preceptor. So often right across the street from us, which is Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Center in Thunder Bay. Talking about social work, students take part in 2 major field placements under the supervision of experienced professionals. So you'll complete 110 days on the job training with social service agencies or community organizations, developing real world skills that employers really value. Um, for kinesiology, we are proud to offer one of the few formal co-op programs in this field in Canada. So students integrate classroom learning with paid work experience over a 4 to 5 month placement. gaining hands-on knowledge in areas like fitness assessment, rehabilitation, and also performance science. Moving forward to psychology. So in psychology, experiential learning often starts in year one. So undergraduate students can get involved in research early on, preparing for graduate studies or careers that require analytical and critical thinking. So for graduate students, whether in clinical or experimental psychology, there are even more opportunities to work directly with research teams and also faculty mentors. Now let's talk briefly about the career outcomes before we go into the next session, wherein we'll be talking with some of the dean and professors of this community. So our graduates go on to a wide range of careers across healthcare, education, research, and community services. The list on your screen shows just how diverse those paths can be. So your degree doesn't define a single career. It opens multiple doors. And if you're thinking long term, many of our students successfully move on to professional programs in medicine, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, or public health. So that's a quick overview of what makes Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences such a dynamic and hands-on place to learn. Now, my lovely colleague Jordan Ball will be interviewing few of our guests for today.
And we want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Mirella Stroink, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences here at Lakehead University. Welcome, Mirella. I appreciate your time to take out of your schedule to join us. I'll give it over to you to introduce yourself to our audience joining us live.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate you having me here today. So I'm Mirella Stroink. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences here at Lakehead University.
Awesome. And Mirella, for our audience to better understand of your journey at Lakehead, how long you've been here, could you share with them a bit about your history in academia and sort of how you climbed the ranks?
Sure. Thanks, Jordan. It's been quite a journey. So I'm actually from the Greater Toronto area myself. That's where I grew up. And then I went to New Brunswick, a small university there for my undergraduate. And I took a general first year of Bachelor of Arts, took a number of courses, and there I took Introduction to Psychology and just fell in love with that discipline. And then I went through and did an honors thesis in my fourth year undergraduate, which prepared me for my master's and PhD, which I did at York University back in Toronto. And then I came to Lakehead to take a job as an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology there. And my area was social psychology, environmental psychology, cultural psychology, and community psychology. And really loved teaching, loved working with students, built a program of research, working with many students, and then found myself department chair. So leading my colleagues through a curriculum refresh and a variety of other projects. And found that I also enjoyed working with faculty and students in that role. And then when the position of dean came up, which oversees 5 different programs in our faculty, which we'll get to, I decided to take a jump at that and have enjoyed working as a dean here.
Great. I mean, what an interesting journey. I know for our audience members, if they're perhaps just looking at their very first undergraduate degree or bachelor's degree, they may not know what's next for them. And perhaps when you started your first degree, you didn't quite see yourself climbing the ranks to being a dean of an entire faculty. But that's the beauty of education and finding your own path and carving out your own educational journey is that you understand what you become passionate about. I'm sure in psychology, obviously, you have foundational knowledge around psychology, but it's also an ever evolving field of study, and research is critical to that. So we are fortunate to be joined by researchers within your faculty later on in today's webinar. But first and foremost, I would like to ask you sort of reflect on your deanship so far. What have been some of the accomplishments, and what would you say to the audience as your outlook, or what are you looking forward to in the future, I should say?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be a dean or to be an academic, really. It's challenging, but also exciting. As When I came into being a dean, I was just after COVID, or just as actually it was just as COVID was finishing up, still going, but winding down. There was a lot of attention to equity, diversity, and inclusion in academia and beyond. And so we were challenged really to think about how centered our ways of thinking are on Western philosophies, Western epistemologies, or ways of knowing or ways of thinking. And so it's been an interesting time. That's one of the things that I'm excited for the future. I see a lot of good work going on where academics are challenging, the foundations of their discipline, and taking what's good and what works, and really thinking about how can we be more open or decentered on one cultural perspective, taking in indigenous ways of knowing, looking at a global lens and seeing how people around the world think about, say, a foundational psychological process like memory. How does memory work? Or personality, how does that look in different cultural lenses? And then by doing that, getting a more full understanding of how the process works rather than only looking at it from one cultural lens. So I see that inclusiveness, decolonization, decentering one cultural lens, and a more global perspective as being a really strong force or current within all of academia right now. And I'm excited about that. And I know within our faculty, we have colleagues working on international perspectives or aspects of their research in a variety of areas, in psychology and nursing, kinesiology. We have some new partnerships with universities in South America. So there's a lot of great things going on in that area right now.
For sure, and I can appreciate, of course, having a refreshed perspective on the ways we think, learn, teach. That will, of course, impact future students for the better, as always the hopes. And so that's exciting to hear that those conversations are ongoing. Looking at some of the accomplishments that your faculty has achieved over the past few years, I know new labs, new clinics, student sports. Can you share with the audience some of those accomplishments?
Oh, happy to. Yes, it's been quite a busy time. We're very excited that our School of Nursing has been able to grow a fair bit over the last couple of years. They've added a nurse practitioner program at the graduate level, and to support that program, plus growing enrollment in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, we've been able to develop a new lab facility with all new equipment, and it's in a bright, sunny space that was new to our faculty. And so that's been great. And it's been equipped with all of the latest technology. And one of the other exciting things in nursing is the new simulation mannequins, which are really fun to work with. So they are, technology-driven tools that you can interact with the mannequin in a very lifelike way, looking at the vital signs, looking in the eyes of the mannequin to see what's happening, and then using technology. There's an iPad interface through which you can try to assess what's going on with the mannequin, and then make your interventions there. So that's been exciting. Lots developing in nursing. Also in psychology, particularly in clinical psychology, there's a new psychology clinic, which is fantastic. We are one of the smallest PhD programs in clinical psychology in Canada. It's one of the things that makes Lakehead great, right? We're small and comprehensive. We have a clinical PhD program, and we're still small. So your professors get to know you by name. But that also means we have to be really innovative sometimes. And so to support the clinical training of our clinical psychology students, we've had to open a psychology clinic. So we run our own clinic. We interact with clients from the community, and that gives our students an opportunity to do assessments and interventions with clients through our own clinic. So that's some of the accomplishments of the last little while, but there's always great things going on.
Great. And as we wrap up our conversation, I always like to give the opportunity to our deans for essentially 60 seconds or less to share with the audience what makes your faculty unique at Lakehead, but on the broader scale of choosing an institution here in Canada. Why should students come here?
They should definitely come here, Jordan. Lakehead University is a great place to do your education in the health and behavioral sciences. If you're interested in working with people, understanding what makes for healthy individuals, healthy families, healthy workplaces, healthy communities, or societies, that's what our programs can offer you. And not only do you learn the theory or the concepts behind things like what determines health, what are the drivers of health in a society, you also get to work hands-on in a variety of ways. So in our School of Nursing, you have clinical placements right away in your first year. In kinesiology, we have co-op opportunities and a lot of really great career exploration that happens right along in that program. In social work also, once you're in your third year, you get to work in a professional capacity. And in psychology, which is a really foundational discipline, understanding how things work, you get to work in research right away from your first year with your professors. And you can do research opportunity courses where you're working in one-on-one with a professor on their project while you get course credit, right on through to an honors thesis. So all of our programs have great ways to engage hands-on and help you to understand how health happens in communities, and give you opportunities to see yourself in a career going on into the future.
Great. Well, thank you again for sharing more. I appreciate your perspective on the future of health and behavioral sciences. Of course, to our audience, next I'll be diving into a bit more about those programs that we offer, some of the unique learning opportunities that Mirella just scratched the surface. Essentially, I'll do my best to cover them and give you some tidbits of information to get excited about. With that, thank you again, Mirella. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jordan.
You're welcome. And with that, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome and introduce Siyoung, who is a student in nursing here at Lakehead University. I'll pass over to him to introduce himself and share a bit more about what he is doing at Lakehead and, of course, where he's from.
All right. Hello, my name is Siyoung Park. I am from Korea, but I lived in France and in Cameroon before. And I came directly here to Canada to study nursing. And I am currently in my 4th year of nursing.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. I'm excited to learn more about what the program's been like for you, some of the highlights and some of the experiences you've been involved in. We'll start there and I'll pose the question to you. Of course, given that you're in your 4th year, you're currently participating in one of your clinical placements. Can you share a bit more with the audience about what that entails and where you are located in the hospital here in Thunder Bay?
So 4th year, you get 2 placements with your preceptor. You get paired with another RN, another nurse, and you pretty much learn everything that they do and slowly take over their job so that you become more a proficient nurse. I'm currently in my first 4th year preceptorship, and I'm currently in 1B in Thunder Bay Regional Hospital in pediatrics.
Exciting. So I know we had a conversation before this where you shared you had previously done pediatrics in your 3rd year. Can you elaborate about what brought you back to pediatrics? What did you enjoy about it?
Usually I had some experience with older generations. You know, I worked at Hope Review Manor for quite a bit, and also worked in med-surg and had placements in med-surg. And suddenly seeing kids kind of made me feel like there was good investment on helping the younger generation as our future, which was which brought big energy to me. And so far it's going really great.
That's exciting to hear, and we appreciate the work, of course, keeping our future generation healthy. I'm curious, as you reflect back beyond perhaps the placement opportunities and more directly to the courses that are required throughout the nursing degree, are there any highlights or shining moments, professors that stand out as being really great?
So first year was just very hard in general. I really had to learn how to study, I guess, from high school. It's just very different. But second year, that's when I kind of picked up more on how to study it better. And there was a medical surgical course. And with that professor, each time I asked questions through email or in person, she would go in great detail. And even specific questions, she would really answer really thoroughly. And even after that, when we met at work, because she also works at the hospital, she would say hi, and it was kind of a more personalized relationship, more than just simple business of professor and student. So I really like that, in fact.
Awesome. You mentioned first year was a bit more challenging. Could you perhaps share with the audience, obviously you've made it fourth year, so you were successful in challenging that first year. What got you through? What helped you?
As an international student, I didn't really have much choice. If I failed any course, there'll be more tuition. I just couldn't afford to fail, and also had to keep my grades up for the scholarship that I received at the beginning of the year, so I couldn't lose that. There was just not a way back for me, so I kind of just had to force myself and get through. And back then, even though it was hard, I knew at the end of the tunnel there would be light.
Right. I'm curious in terms of looking ahead to the future. You're hoping to graduate, of course, after next term. What do you foresee doing? Is it diving right into the nursing career, or is there something more for you beyond that?
We'll definitely pass the NCLEX first, I would say. And after that, yeah, go straight into nursing and yeah, try to get some experience, get some money, of course.
Awesome. I think one of my last questions that I typically ask student guests is, do you have any advice to future students that are joining Lakehead in how to be successful, perhaps not necessarily in nursing, but just in changing their entire life to join us here in Canada?
In general, it's just a small of everything, smaller school, smaller city. So although it could get boring sometimes, it's an advantage how you could be more personal with among the peers, among the friends. And also, like I said, professors are a big part. At least for nursing, for sure, I know a lot of them were very, very approaching, very caring to me. So that would be a big advantage.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining me and sharing more about your experience in nursing. To our audience, next we're going to chat with one of our professors in the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences to learn more about what important research they're partaking in. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you and welcome to our professor from the Department of Psychology, Dr. Tan. I'll pass over to her to say hello to everyone and introduce herself, share a bit more about her history in academia.
Thank you, Jordan. And I want to thank you, everyone who is watching this video. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in this world. My name is Josephine Tan, and I'm a professor of clinical psychology in the Department of Psychology at Lakehead University, Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences. Maybe I'd like to share with you a little bit about how I got to be where I am today. I actually am an immigrant. I was born and raised in Malaysia, Southeast Asia, and I actually did a lot of my education pre-university in Malaysia. And then I came over on an international student visa to do my undergraduate at University of Alberta. And I like psychology so much, and I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to go further. So I applied for graduate studies, and I really like clinical, so I thought, let me apply for clinical. And I ended up doing my training at a master's and at the PhD level at the University of New Brunswick. And being clinical, I also have to do a residency. And so I ended up in Ottawa doing residency, working at the hospital, training at the hospital, and I really, really love that kind of work as well as the research. And then after that, I thought to myself, could I go any further? But unfortunately, the PhD is the highest degree that you can get. So I got to get a job, right? So I ended up applying for jobs and ended up at Lakehead University. And I love it here. And I've never left since I left graduate school, landed at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, and I've stayed. And to be honest, I really love working here. I love, working with the students. And so my whole career here has been at Lakehead University. And I do research, I do teaching, I do administrative work. And yes, I also have a clinical practice on the side, to keep me active and my students. And the clinical practice is really great because it gives me real life information. It helps me in my research. It helps me in my teaching. It really helps me to think and connect what I do in my research and what I read in the literature to what I'm actually doing to real life people. And the information and the experience I get in practice, I can bring back to benefit my teaching and my research. So essentially, this is how I ended up where I am today.
Great. Thank you for sharing more. That's very interesting to hear of your journey. Of course, you essentially almost did coast to coast studies in Alberta and then in New Brunswick. And then you landed in the heart of Canada, Ontario, and more specifically, almost the center of Canada in Thunder Bay, of course, to pursue further career prospects, which is here at Lakehead. We're excited to have you on today's webinar. You noted, of course, that you continue to actively do research and pursue your clinical pursuits as well. Can you share with the audience a bit about some of the research that you've partaken in the most recent years, or perhaps even what's on the horizon for you?
Oh, I would love to do that. So currently, the research that I'm interested in, I would say is kind of like two-pronged. One of the area of research that I work in is on non-suicidal self-injury. And that's different from suicide. People who have suicidal ideation and who undertake suicide actually have a desire to die, whereas people who engage in non-suicidal self-injury actually use it as a means of coping. So they do cutting or burning and is to help them regulate their emotions and to help them feel better, in other words. So my students and I do the research on non-suicidal self-injury, and we look at things such as the differences between people who engage in non-suicidal self-injury or NSSI. What are the differences, psychological characteristics between those who engage in it and those who don't? What are some of the risk factors, for instance? And what are the functions? Like why do people hurt themselves? And what can be done to help people to stop doing that? And also, more recently, the research has taken more of a cultural aspect because NSSI is undertaken like around the world. Like it doesn't matter where you go, whether you're in Asia or Europe or North America or Africa, wherever you go, you find that a lot of people do engage in it. And there are cultural differences in perhaps maybe the functions, the reasons why they do it. So this is part of the research that I'm doing. Then I said that there were two prongs to my research. So the other aspect is I'm really interested in this one, is really looking at leadership. If you think about what's happening in the world today, what do you think about the leaders? Some are good leaders, others are not so good, right? And a lot of times when we think about leadership, we're thinking about male, white, top down, right? You get somebody at the top. But you know what? People lead in different ways. Different cultures lead in different ways. Women lead in different ways. They are still leaders. People in different societies, their leadership is like not vertical, it's actually flat and lateral. So one of the things that I'm doing, some of the work I'm doing with my students is looking at global and diverse leadership. So we currently, I have a book that's going to be coming out, an edited book. Looking at global and diverse leadership around the world. I've got my students involved in it, and it's going to be coming out, I think, in about early 2025.
Thank you for sharing more. That's very exciting for you, of course. Another accomplishment under your belt in terms of your research and publishing that and sharing it more broadly. I heard several times you noted that students were involved in that research. So to our audience, I'm sure that perks them up, gets them excited. Can you share with them what it's like as a student at Lakehead within psychology to get involved in research? What does that look like? And how do we facilitate it as the educators?
Um, that's a really good question. So in the Department of Psychology, students can get involved in research, like even starting in year one at the undergraduate level or year two. If let us say year one, they're very busy trying to adapt to university life. So I have had students, even in the year two, coming up to me and saying, Dr. Tan, I'm very interested in research. Can I help out in your lab? And I would say, sure. So I do have different projects going on, and I will speak with the students and see what they're interested in, and if there's a match, then they will come in and help me in my lab. So there's different ways they can do that. One way is they can volunteer as an RA, a research assistant in the lab, under my supervision, and they would learn very specific research skills. And for the volunteering, they can get what we call a CCR, co-curricular record. That's put on the transcript, which shows that they actually volunteered in the lab and they acquired these skills, transferable skills that can be used to apply to other settings as well. Another way that they can get involved with the lab is coming in for course credit. So in psychology, we have a special course called Research Opportunity that students can sign up. And as long as they are linked to a professor and to a project, the supervisor, which is the professor, would supervise them on a particular project that is in progress. The students take on a very specific duty in the lab and they learn on how to do that. At the end of the course, they would get a mark. Then another way that they can get involved is obviously taking on the project as a thesis. That's usually done in the third and especially the fourth year. Another way they can get involved is saying, I just want to help out for, not for a course credit. And they can do that. And usually it depends on the type of contribution they make. If the publications or presentations come out of it, the students would have authorship on the work.
Well, that's very interesting to hear. I know I have friends who have graduated from psychology and have spoke very highly of the opportunities that they had access to in terms of even at the undergraduate level, like you mentioned, participating in research. That is what we live and breathe here at Lakehead. Being a smaller campus community, access to research, even at the early stages, is critically important. In your case, of course, you recognized in your first degree in undergrad, that's where you developed your deep passion for the study of psychology. And we hope that, of course, for our students, whether their intentions are to join the program and they don't know what's next, hopefully we can help guide that experience. And if they perhaps do, they can start in day one, year one, diving headfirst into extensive amounts of diversification and interdisciplinary study. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Tan. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing more about the impacts of your research and what you're currently doing to help support student learning here at Lakehead. It's been my pleasure to be your host. Next, we're going to be joined by Dr. Costa, who is going to share more details about her research at Lakehead University.
Thank you very much.
And it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Costa, a faculty member within the School of Nursing here at Lakehead University. I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself and share a bit about her role and what she does here at Lakehead, and then we'll dive into some of her research and how you can get involved, perhaps.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to be here sharing a little bit of my experience and my expertise in research and clinical practice. I am an associate professor at the Lakehead University School of Nursing and the associate director at the Center for Education and Research in Aging and Health. I'm also an internationally educated nurse from Brazil, and I continue building my clinical practice in Canada. When I came in 2012, then after that, I did also my PhD at Queen's University. And now, after 25 years of experience, I have joined Lakehead University 6 years ago, and I'm developing my research program, which I have a national and international collaboration around global health equity and chronic condition empowerment, which is
Very
the focus of
interesting.
my research program.
Great. Well, now that you've been here with us for over 6 years nearly, could you share with the audience a bit about some of the research projects that you've been involved in, perhaps most recently?
Yes, that's a great question. So I actually have been involved in quite a few projects that are nationally and internationally. In the national project, which I'm going to speak first, I have a community partner with Wounds Canada, which is a national wound care organization, and also other distinguished partners that integrate research findings into the practice and policy. We usually collaborate with community partners so the research can be uptaken to the community. One of my research that was funded by Shark Connection Grant in 2022 and is still ongoing is Our Voice, Our Stories, an initiative, which is a national knowledge exchange program. And this research uses the power of digital storytelling, which is a participatory visual research methodology. So far, we have recruited over 25 vulnerable individuals living with chronic wounds, such as diabetic foot ulcer, pressure injury, venous leg ulcers, and they share their stories as a narrative therapy. So with this opportunity for sharing their story, this is also a form of trauma-informed approach, which helps them to heal from their trauma and experience, but also help us to inform policy about access to care and how to change the healthcare system to better serve this population. So after we had started with this digital storytelling, then we also created a website at Wounds Canada, where Wounds Canada hosts all the stories. And now we are doing a survey and focus group where we want to identify the impact of the digital storytelling on story listeners. So we invite healthcare providers, also individuals with lived experience with wounds and their care partners. We also invite policymakers, healthcare administrators to participate in a roundtable or to listen to the webinar and participate in the webinar by listening to the stories. And then after that, they have questions that they answer about the impact of the digital storytelling on themselves. So some of the impacts may be on how do they feel about hearing the stories and how they think about including digital storytelling as an educational tool and also to inform healthcare policy. Because different than those storytelling that puts us to sleep, these storytellings are real stories of individuals who navigate social life and the healthcare system with a hard-to-heal wound, which they can face struggles. It can be very painful, and sometimes they need a lot of support, right? So now we end up on a third project that is to use these stories to develop a bill of right and responsibility for patients who navigate their life with a wound. So usually these wounds take long to heal, and they are lost on not knowing what to do. So we want to put together with them involved, right? Because nothing better than people that have their experience to tell what they face and how they think that could be done and to improve their experience with the healthcare system. Because most of the time the support are there for them, but it's just a matter of how do I access it? How do I navigate through the healthcare system? So we hopefully to get this Bill of Rights ready by the end of next year, So it will help patients to engage, right? And finally, but last but not the least, is the international research collaboration that I have with colleagues from Brazil. I have international collaboration with the University of São Paulo School of Nursing at Ribeirão Preto campus, which is related to creating foundation for improving the health of populations with diabetes-related wounds. This research involves Dr. Soraya Rabeh, and currently I have a lab student who is from Dr. Rabeh group, who is doing her PhD, and she is visiting here with me and to get a research support and to finalize the data analysis of her PhD. So she's here for 6 months. We have also others partnership with other places in Brazil, such as University of Ceará in Fortaleza, and there are many research going on right now. So yeah, we never stop here, and this is great because we learn from each other, right?
Of course. And that's very exciting in terms of your first project, how I use the terminology it snowballed. It was one project with a specific focus, but then you recognize the value of sharing those stories and reflecting on what the impact had on, as you said, people that are in the healthcare system, practitioners, and now beyond that, hopefully actioning it at the highest levels of government. So it helps support patients. And as you noted, having better patient care and access to healthcare is the end goal for, I'm sure, most people in a setting like yours. So I'm curious, and I'm
Yeah,
sure the audience
absolutely.
has the burning question. How can they get involved, not necessarily in your research, but in research in general at Lakehead and perhaps in the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences?
Yes, that's great question. Thank you for asking that. So I have opportunities in my research program for students to join as a volunteer. We usually have this opportunity because some students, they ask, how can I get involved, but I don't have research experience, right? So we provide mentorship for students who starts as volunteer, and then they get to learn about research. They get involved with a more senior student who will help them and not help them navigate this process of what is research about, how can I be part of some step of this research, right? And then when we have grants, students who have more qualification, have learned, got experience, so they will be paid. So they usually start as a volunteer, then gain experience, then they move if that is really what they want, right? And if they want to continue pursuing this pathway, they will join as in a paid position according to the hours they work. And we also have programs for international students that are from Latin America, Caribbean countries, which is the LAP program, right? So they can apply. I think usually it's in the beginning of the year, and they apply. They need to connect with us first and get an idea. We can get an idea of what their expectations are. How can we support them? Yeah, their information's on the website. And then we have also the Cala Rail program, which last year I went to Brazil to implement one of those research that I stated about at the University of São Paulo. And we brought 2 nursing students from our program who had actually never left Canada, and they had this opportunity to go to Brazil. It was a great experience. They were part of the research. They also delivered some lecture about their experience as a nurse in our program. And there was exchange of experience. So this way we facilitate both ways, right? Students from our institution to go abroad, and from abroad to come to our institution.
That's very exciting. I mean, I'll remind the audience, if you're abroad right now and looking to learn more about some of the short-term exchanges, you can connect with Lakehead University's Global Me and Engagement team. They're here to facilitate those opportunities. But for those students that are joining us for undergraduate or graduate degrees, full degrees, you can of course look forward to perhaps furthering your expertise within nursing and building on perhaps some research experience or maybe nothing at all. There's opportunities, it sounds like, with you yourself, Dr. Costa, but also I know many of her colleagues are offering opportunities outside of the classroom. So thank you again for sharing more. I know it's been a pleasure to have you. And to our audience, thank you for checking us out and learning more about the Faculty of Health and Behavioral Sciences. Next, we'll dive into the live question and answer period.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we'll move into our Q&A session. So please send in your questions through the chat section, through the Q&A function below. So after Miriam has asked, how long does it take to get PAL after you pay the deposit fees? So after paying the confirmation deposit at Lakehead University, you should receive instructions for requesting a PAL via your student email within a few days, and then the university will then process your request and provide you certain further instructions. It usually takes, as Paula mentioned, 3 to 5 business days. Also, another question, airport pickup for international students. Yes, we do provide airport pickup. There will be certain instructions that may come in your student email during the pre-arrival period, and you can book through that for your airport pickup. You can connect with us on our social media channels. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under Lakehead International. So if you're curious about anything Lakehead, any kind of behind-the-scene content about current students, those platforms are a really good way to stay in the loop. We really hope to see you at one of our next live webinars, and even more, we'd love to welcome you on campus as a Lakehead student someday. Thank you again for joining. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. You can connect with us on social media. You can find us at Lakehead International on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We hope to see you in our next live webinar. Bye for now.